Your Magic the Gathering news report is brought to you in part by the channel MTG Anarchy, where we take a look into the world of Magic the Gathering and throw a little bit of mischief and chaos into the mix. Welcome to your Magic the Gathering news report for April 27th of 2020. My name is Michael, it is great to see you here. On today's report, we are going to be taking a look into Magic the Gathering Arena, what sort of issues have persisted over the weekend, as well as what the developers have done to fix these issues. But before we head into the article, if this is your first time on the channel or you haven't already done so, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can keep up to date with any new videos that do come out here on MTG Anarchy. With that all out of the way, let's jump over into the article. Today's article comes from We Got This Covered by Joe Pring as of today's date, April 27th of 2020, titled Magic the Gathering Arena Patch Makes Changes to Ikoria Premier Drafts. Now before we jump in, I do want to give a little bit of a TLDR. I am just going to be reading from the article itself. I have cut it out so that way people can actually go ahead and see what I am reading. Also, when it comes to this sort of stuff, I will give my opinions throughout the video, pause a little bit, let you guys know what's gonna go ahead and my opinions on this sort of stuff. And I do also want to let you know that I personally do not play Magic the Gathering Arena. I have played in the past, but again, it wasn't something that I liked, so I'm more of a paper Magic player. I usually play Commander anyway, and so, I mean, it's something that my opinion is going to differ from other individuals who are experiencing this sort of thing, so please keep all that in mind. This is just my view looking in, alright? With that out of the way, let's jump to the article itself. The long-awaited addition of player-to-player drafts in Magic the Gathering Arena hasn't gone as swimmingly as the game's developer had perhaps hoped. Shortly after the release of Ikoria, Lair of Behemoths earlier this month, players noticed that certain modes, despite being labeled as free to enter prior to the set's launch, required folks to pony up an eye-watering 10,000 gold in order to enter. Wizards of the Coast promptly responded to the criticism by labeling the blunder as an oversight on its part, though it now appears other formats have been experiencing further issues. Deployed late last week, the bulk of patch 1.07 largely details with applying fixes to wonky card interactions and miscellaneous bug fixes, though one particular amendment pertains to Premier Draft and a number of unintended behaviors therein. Alright, so let's pause here for a moment. Basically, from what I've read so far, individuals, players, are complaining that these Premier Drafts that should have been free now cost 10,000 gold. And from Wizards' end, their retort is saying, well, this was an oversight on our end. Of course, this happened due to a bug when we were trying to do our latest patch, and so that's the reason why. Honestly, at this point, for what I've read up to this point, it does sound a little bit shady, especially since Wizards wanted to go ahead and implement that within a patch, the 1.07 patch, when they could have just implemented the Premier Draft separately. But again, I mean, for a programming aspect, you want to try to cram as much that you can as possible to go ahead and fix the game. So again, it's a little bit shady for what I'm reading thus far. However, is it outside of that expectation? Not necessarily. I mean, things like this do happen all the time, but again, that's up to this point. The first of two major fixes have to do with MTG Arena's matching algorithm in Premier Draft, and how it would often match players of wildly different ranks together in the same match. The developer's notes reads as follows. As some of you may have noticed, there were certain scenarios where you were being matched against somebody with a much higher or lower rank than yours. This should address that issue. Regardless, players were still being properly matched on their current win-loss record. Ranked draft formats use both your rank and your win-loss record when searching for an opponent. Let's just pause here for a moment. To me, this just sounds like an excuse. I understand and I get that they want to make sure things are fair with all players all around, and they want to make sure people are playing with their own skill level. And that is fine, that's understandable, but in a real-life draft, because I've done real-life drafts, the players you're going to go ahead and get matched up to are based off the win-loss ratio, especially in a draft. Honestly, there's many different players that are out there that play in different ways, different aspects.
And honestly, they're all randomized cards anyway, so why would ranking matter? It should just focus on win-loss ratio, to me at least, because if an individual wins, they should get matched up with players who have also won. If the players have lost, they should get matched up to players who've lost and count based off of that. Again, to me, real-life drafting is going to be different than this Premier-esque drafting, because again, it's just they're focusing on ranking, and to me, you're going to have a wide range of players play. I mean, if I was an individual who was going to be playing against a good player and I'm a bad player in general, then it's going to be a learning experience. If I'm a good player playing against a weaker player or somebody who's ranked less than I am, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad player. It just means that, hey, look, this was just the tough matchup, and ultimately it sucks to suck. But that's my mentality when it comes to this. And honestly, I believe this just seems like an excuse. This specific thing seems like an excuse for what's currently going on with these issues. So that's my opinion on this, but let's move forward. Adding to that, a small but impactful tweak to best of one Premier drafts has been rolled out, which aims to make drawing a dud first hand much less commonplace. As before, see below for official commentary explaining the adjustments and why they needed to be made. We intend for best of one formats to use a modified opening hand algorithm which pulls multiple potential opening hands and chooses one. Premier Draft was operating contrary to that, and we have fixed it accordingly. To stave off any conspiracy theories, it was previously using our best of 3 opening hand rules, which pulls one and only one opening hand. Okay, hold on here for just one moment. So basically they're admitting to say, well, we based this program algorithm based off the best of 3 sort of situation that we have going on rather than doing just a best of 1. That's why we're adjusting it so people don't get as bad of hands. That to me, what? I get it that sometimes programs and cards deal you bad hands. I mean, here's the thing about that though. In real life, you're gonna get dealt bad hands in the game. I mean, that's how it is. If it happens constantly, then maybe something needs to happen. Like, I don't know, rearrange and readjust the deck or shuffle better. I mean, with a program, you can take some responsibility with that, but to me, it's just sounding like individuals just getting bad hands in general, and they just went ahead and complained about it to the higher-ups. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. In a real-life draft, you're going to get stuck with bad hands. That's why you mold down. But again, that is what that is. It sucks to suck in that sort of aspect, but I'm looking at this via real-life versus machine. And honestly, yes, the machine has a little bit of parts to kind of help you with that because it does help you shuffle your deck. But if you get dealt with a bad hand, you get dealt with a bad hand. You have to roll with it. And if you don't, then you mull again or you have to move on to the next round. I get that this is just best of 1 situations, but honestly, to me, if drafting was just best of 1s and you got dealt bad hands multiple times, then maybe there's something up with your deck that you need to go ahead and tweak and figure out. If you're to that point where you say, well, I have the best deck, I've made my deck accordingly, and you're still getting dealt bad hands, then, I mean, it's the luck of the draw. It really is that. And honestly, to me, I just cannot understand why people are saying, oh, these are just bad and this is good. But that's just my opinion when it comes to that. Welcome changes all around, then. Though it remains to be seen if those implemented have their intended effect on enticing players new and old into giving the format a chance. Standard remains the most popular arena mode by a wide margin due to its ease of access that provides all newcomers several free starter decks to get stuck in straight off the bat. So here are my final thoughts when it comes to this specific article. I'm going to be straight up with all of you. To me, if they're trying to go ahead and update everything, if they're trying to go ahead and make the game better, make it more balanced and fair, that's understandable from a player's aspect. I can see that. However, being matched up to players higher or lower than you, or even best of 1 matches where you're not getting the most potential hand that you could get, and you're getting dud hands, that's what happens in real life. Even paying 1,000 gold when you were told for free, that I could see a little bit of an issue, especially if the people had said, hey, look, this is going to be free versus, hey, you have to pay for it. I mean, that's understandable. But with the whole best of one matches not getting the best hand, or even just being matched up to a person higher or lower to you, to me, that is life. That's something that happens within an actual draft, a live in-person draft. You're going to get crappy hands. You are going to go ahead and get matched up to players that are better or worse than you. I mean, that is what it is. Honestly, to me, it should be that the win-loss ratio should count. And if you get stuck with a bad hand, you get stuck with a bad hand. That is what it is. So, honestly, with these changes, to me, this isn't truly implementing real-life scenarios. This is just trying to go ahead and get people to play against people that are similar, on a similar level, on a similar wavelength, and honestly, I do not agree with this. I think people should play against tougher opponents or weaker opponents. I think that happens. And there's always going to be a learning curve, a learning experience with that sort of thing. I think if the best of one sort of matches and you getting a bad hand, then let's go ahead and tweak the deck a little bit. If you've had great hands before and the deck's worked, then honestly it may be something with the system. Again, that does happen, but more or less likely it's due to the deck that you've built. It's due to your skill. It's due to how you feel about it. So again, that's what I see. Those are my opinions. What are yours? Let me know in the comments down below. But with that said and done, that was your Magic the Gathering news report here on MTG Anarchy. Now, before you go, I would actually appreciate it if you could like and share this video, so then that way more people could actually get their eyes on these types of videos, and so it would help within the algorithm as well as help my channel. Also, like I said earlier, I would also appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit the bell notification, just to keep up to date with any new videos that do come out here on MTG Anarchy. Finally, I would also love if you could support your local game stores. Honestly, they are a big part of the Magic the Gathering community, and honestly, as long as you're financially stable, I personally do support my local game store. I hope you were to support yours. So please, as long as you're financially stable, please go ahead and support your local game stores at this time. But thank you so much for watching this video. This is Michael from MTG Anarchy, here with your Magic the Gathering news report. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.